Hey friends, welcome to the EDH Rec Twitch stream. Tonight we're kicking off a new weekly series called What's Up? This is an AMA slash interview style show where we bring on well-known people in the Magic the Gathering community and ask them
Why
lots
am
of
I here?
questions. And hopefully don't make anyone cry, including me. I am your host, Andy Zupke, and joining me tonight for our maiden voyage, the first guy we could find who would say yes, it's Shivam Bhatt.
Hello.
Shivam, how I we're gonna start this off with the burning question that everybody has here. All right, we're gonna start it off with what everybody wants to know. How the hell are you? How are you doing, buddy? You doing good?
That is the most challenging possible question you could ask me here at the beginning of the year, uh, in a transitory moment for our country. Um, how am I is way harder to answer than you think. I guess the answer would be dry. I'm dry. I'm dry and I'm pretty warm. That we can go with that.
Hey, warm is good. I will definitely take warm. Um, for the people who don't know who you are, Shivam, why don't you go ahead and give us your elevator pitch, your spiel, your 30 seconds of who the hell you are and why.
Sure. Hi, so my name is Shivam, and I am a content creator for Magic the Gathering. I host two podcasts for Magic called one's called Casual Magic, which is an interview show where I bring people on weekly and talk for like an hour, finding basically like this program. And then also I have Shivam Wheeler Love Magic, where me and my friend Ben Wheeler sit and take a set and then talk about every cool card in the set for like 2 to 4 hours, depending. And it's basically uh, about as optimistic and positive a magic show as you can get. And then I also have a show about the Dragonlance book series because I love the sound of my own voice and I love the Dragonlance book series. And so my friend and I sit and go through chapter by chapter for the original Chronicles. And also, for 5 years up until very recently, I was a member of the Commander Advisory Group. I was effectively the unofficial press secretary and like would go out on socials and tell people and explain what's going on. And I like to hold down for the casuals. I'm very well known for being a beloved fan of scrub tier magic, of like playing the crap that's on your desk, of just having fun. Like I do not weigh winning higher than fun. If I lose but you did something cool, then I won. And so people get real mad at me because I'm like, I don't care if I win or lose. We've been playing for 2.5 hours. Somebody's gonna win. If it's me, rad. If it's not me, also rad. Who cares? Do we have fun? It's fine, great. Like chill. It's a game.
So there's a big difference between you and me, and that is that you like the sound of your voice, and I can't stand mine. So when Dana and Jason approached me and asked me to do this AMA interview show weekly, I was like, "The fuck is wrong with you guys? Are you serious? I am not the." Well, apparently, they thought I was the right guy for it, and I appreciate their confidence in me. So I'm gonna try very hard to not screw this up as much as I think I might. Anyway,
Good times.
good times,
I mean,
yes.
dude, talking to people weekly is not easy. Sometimes you have some real hot interviews where they understand the idea of what it means to be in a conversation. And so, like, they'll pick up the cue, they'll start running, they'll have a chat, and then you can naturally flow in and ask questions and keep the conversation flowing. And sometimes people will treat it like you're doing a homework assignment where I ask you a question and they're like, yes. Or like,
Yep.
I did this because of this reason.
Hmm.
And there's no hook and there's no like fluidity and nowhere for me to go from there. And that's when it kind of feels awkward and like a little stumpy. But like the art of a good conversation is to make the art of a good interview is to make the person feel like they're not in an interview.
Hmm.
Like you want them to feel like they're chatting with somebody who's like, at least for me personally, my style is like a casual, fun. We're just chilling. We're talking about things we like. You're comfortable. There's no sweat. And I want to hear all your cool stories. You want to hear all my cool stories?
Hmm.
Good times.
So, oh
You
shit, I
just
should be
got to be
writing
very
this all
careful.
down. This is all
Well, I
gold.
mean,
Oh man, I
it's
gotta
just like
learn here.
this is one of the things I just care a lot about because like I've heard a lot of people do interview shows or like try to pick up this kind of like because it's fun to talk to cool people in Magic. It is like
Sure.
talking to Kai Buddha or talking to the prof or whatever. Like it feels really good, but when you're in that situation, you got to make sure that this is if this is a conversation for you or is this a conversation for the audience.
Hmm.
Either way, though, is like is this going to be a press like the way you got to look at it is like sometimes interviews end up being like going to watching those stupid after game press conferences with like the best athlete who's just like coach told us our goal was to put the most balls into the hoop as possible and you know it's a 4 quarter game and we got to do our best and I wanted to hit the boards hard and board the hits hard and you know it's like okay great but like that's a vacuous and empty statement and then the guy's like excuse me, can you tell me, like, in the 3rd quarter when you were going up against the, you know, forward of that thing and he was pressing against you and you dribbled twice, were you turning to, yeah, ma'am, that's exactly what I was doing. It's like, what the hell? That's a boring ass question, right?
Right.
Whereas it's like, I want to know who you are. I want to know why you're here. I want to know why you're talking to me. And, like, w- let's have a human interaction. Like, by the end of this, I want you to feel like you can come and hang out at my house, right?
Yeah, send me your address when we're done here, so I can come on over. Jason Alt is in chat and already confirming that he made a huge mistake in bringing me on for this job. Thank you, Jason. Love you forever. Um, let's get
Jason
in.
Alt is one of the unsung heroes of the Magic community, and
He's my
like
hero.
I think the fact that he's an acerbic asshole most of the time probably rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah,
However, I have found him to be one of the sweetest and kindest dudes, and honestly, he is putting in a yeoman's work in making sure that we still have a place for people to write articles or to
absolutely.
talk about Magic without a commercial incentive from places like Star City or whatever. So, homie is like, I mean, you'll never hear a bad word from me about Jason.
Absolutely. You know, I am now a full time employee of EDH Rec, and
Nice.
that is because of Jason Alt. He hired me to start off with a little bit of editing work about a year ago, and kind of just grew from there. And it's all because of him and his work. You know, pushing for me and promoting me and everything. So Jason has certainly made my life a lot better. He's a great guy, and I love him.
So, what do you do for EDH Rec now?
Well, starting today, I'm doing this. I'm also the content manager and editor for cardgamer.com. Cardgamer is a site that Space Cow Media, who is the people that run EDH Rec, they just purchased the site, and it's all about card games, as the title suggests. We talk about all the TCGs over on cardgamer.com. You know, Magic, Pokemon,
Hmm.
Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, One Piece universes, a bunch of other games I can't think of. We talk about living card games, digital card games. We talk about Balatro. We talk about Pokemon Pocket. So yeah, I'm managing all that content. We're doing like 3 or 4 articles a day, and it's been great.
It's funny. Your last name is Zupke. How do you pronounce that?
Zupke, like
Zupke.
upkeep, but
Because
with a Z.
because looking at it, it looks like the Hindi or Urdu word "chupke," which means silence. And I'm like, that is a
Oh,
perfect name for a
that's fitting.
podcast interview host.
You know, that's much more fitting than my first name, which is, you know, Andrew,
Andy.
which is Greek for manly, which is not at all me. That's not fitting at all. Ask anybody who knows me. Um,
Sorry, folks, if I look like I'm looking off screen, but like my camera is pointing in a different direction than apparently the flippy one that they're using on Twitch.
that's all right.
So,
They know you're here.
whoopsie doodle.
That's all that matters. That's all right. My camera is a little bit off. It's like I have 2 monitors and the camera is right in the middle, so I'm very rarely am I ever looking exactly at my camera. So we're in the same boat there.
Fair.
I want to get started on some questions here Because that's why we're here, right? We're here to ask you the burning hot questions. We've already
Because if
got
you
one or
didn't start asking
two.
me questions, I was going to take this interview over, and it was going to be flipped on
Yeah, I was
into an
starting to
episode
get
of
worried
Casual.
about that. I was like, oh shit, I better start asking him stuff, or we're gonna talk about me for an hour. Okay, you've been podcasting for quite a long time now. Has it been 10 years?
It's let's see. I started right around when Kaladesh came out, so 2016. So it's been 8 years,
8 years,
maybe eight
almost
or 9 years
9.
now.
Yeah, so we're getting up there. Now, in all that time, who has been your favorite podcast guest? Now, bear in mind that I have never been on your
Ooh,
podcast, so as much as you'd like to say Andy Zupke, you cannot.
alas. Uh, alas, who has been my favorite podcast guest? Well, Ben Wheeler, when he used to come on my podcast, was the one that I had so much fun with that I spun off and made a podcast with him directly. But that feels a little cheaty because that's still kind of going on.
Yeah.
Um, Tappy Toe Claws is one of my favorite people on the planet, and having her on the show is insanely fun and just like insanely weird and cool. But I mean, it's hard because like there have been podcasts where it's like, oh, this has not been a fun show, but people have really liked it, and then there have been shows I've loved and the audience has been kind of like dead on. But I think the most fun, but like, I mean, I've had some really like my favorite conversation I think was with John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats, because we ended up talking about like Hinduism for like 45 minutes or something and his like cultural understanding and stuff.
Hmm.
Or I like let's see. I've had Rosewater on, he's always fun. But basically anytime Gavin Verhey, Tappy Toe Claws, or like Wheeler comes on, I have a great time.
Awesome. You know, the shameful thing about Tappy is that I live in this same city as her, and I've never met her.
Dude,
I know.
that's not okay.
I
She's one of the
know.
greatest people I know.
I know.
She's literally one of the best people I've ever met. And
That's what I've
yeah.
heard from other people, but I've it just hasn't happened. Maybe I'm too shy. I don't know. Maybe this
She'll
whole
break
interview
that
thing
out of
is
you
to break
real
me out
quick.
of my shyness and get me to start meeting people or something. So, is there one guest that you've always wanted to have on your
Garfield.
podcast? The cat or the
Richard Garfield.
doctor? Dr. Richard
I want
Garfield.
Richard Garfield on the show,
Yep.
but I'm a little worried that he would be a little bit of the dead fish kind of conversation I was talking about. In the I ask a question, he answers the question,
Right.
silence. Um, but obviously, he would be like one of my prime people to have because I've had like most of the people inside the building, and so like I've talked to everybody cool at Wizards, and the people I haven't, I've got queued up. But outside of that, I don't know. Post Malone feels like he would be a good get, but he would be boring to talk to. Um, I feel like uh, I don't know. There are other bigger Magic players out there who would be really interesting to talk to, but like at this point, I've done 250, 260 something episodes.
Hmm.
I've talked to a lot of people.
Well, and
There's
that's
people
just
I would love
casual
to have
magic. You had
again.
you had stuff before that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I before even Casual Magic, I did like Commander, and I had another maybe 60, 70 episodes of that.
Hmm.
Uh, I've talked to a lot of people,
Hmm.
and I mean, I just like talking to people. So like anybody is a good get, but talking to Garfield would be. I think like one of my dream gets was talking to Brian David Marshall, who
Okay.
was a super big deal for me when I was growing up and learning about Magic. Um, I've had Brandon Sanderson on, yeah, because we're actual friends. Because I read his books. Uh,
Oh, can
Beta read his
anybody who
books.
reads his book be his friend?
Well, Beta reads his books. Actually, the thing about Sanderson, it's a funny story. Is like I was a huge Wheel of Time guy, and I was one of the people who was in charge of the Wheel of Time book signing when it came to San Francisco. And Sanderson, when he was writing and doing the book signings, we got to know each other and hang out because he got to know us volunteers really well. And I was like, hey, man, I got a box of Gate Crash. Do you want to just draft it sometime? And so he invited me up to his hotel room, and we sat and drafted Gate Crash in his hotel's lobby with me and a couple of our friends. And he skunked me. He like completely destroyed me. And we became really just good friends after that. Like I have his phone number. I mean, I don't call it because that's weird, and we don't violate privacy lines like that. However, um, he's been on my show. I've beta read a bunch of his books. We've talked regularly, so he's awesome. Um, but yeah, like guests that I want to have. I mean, I want to have people who play Magic but are like not known for Magic. You know, I want people who are like, or Kai Buddha. I really want to talk to Kai, but Kai was like, I'm not feeling up to it, and I'm like, that's fair. I can see why Kai isn't up to it these days.
Hmm.
I want to see if I can get Finkel on, but I don't know how good of a conversation he'd be. Um, LSV was surprisingly not the best conversation, despite being a really cool dude. Uh, but like
Well,
I've
he's
had
in chat,
Marshall
by
on a
the way.
bunch. He's
Shh.
awesome.
I'm just kidding. He's not there.
Yeah. The thing is though, like, oh, and yeah, of course I've had Prof on. I've had Prof on like twice. He taped one in my house. He's the reason the Prof is the reason I have a show. Is like, I was on Commanderin and I was really not feeling great about it, and he invited me, Tappy Toe Claus, and Olivia up to tape the Commander Council sketch he did like 5-6 years ago. No, I don't know, some long time ago. And he flew us out, and we had a conversation over the course of the weekend, where him, and the other two basically convinced me to uh, start my own podcast because they're like, "Look, dude, you're good at interviewing people, and you're working for somebody who doesn't respect you. Break off and do your own thing." And I did. And I was originally going to call the show Shuffle Up and Play, but it wasn't a gameplay show, so I was like, I'm going to call it Casual Magic instead. And I said, you should do something with Shuffle Up and Play instead, Prof. And now he's got like one of the coolest shows
Wow,
on
you
YouTube.
named Shuffle Up and
Oh yeah,
Play.
that's like
Wow,
it's the thing I'm very proud of.
that's a crown to wear. My goodness.
Yeah,
Um,
two things I've named that are cool: Shuffle Up and Play and Avishkar. So it's like feeling good about
yes,
that.
yes, absolutely. I was gonna ask you about that, so we might as well jump into that. Now, you're pretty happy with the move from Kaladesh to Avishkar, and
I am.
tell me about how all that came about. Did Wizards consult with you on that change?
Okay, so let me think about how I want to approach this question. Um, so when the set first was announced, when they were announced a plane in Origins, I was really excited for it. And then I saw what they did, and I was really upset about kind of the way that they had treated some of the functions of the Indian culture in their setting. And I wrote a number of essays, and that's how I got into podcasting. When I was writing my essays, people were like, "Wow, these are really insightful and important, and we would love to have you on your show because I think you've got interesting things to say." Um, but then they were like, "We're going to go to Kaladesh as a set," and I'm like, "All right, rad." I had a lot of expectations, none of them were met, and I was really upset about that. But one of the big things was I was like, why'd you call it Kaladesh? And they're like, what do you mean? It means like land of invention. I'm like, it means land of black people. And they're like, what? I'm like, Desh means land of in terms of like humans. Bangladesh, for instance.
Hmm.
It's like the Sanskritic equivalent of Stan, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, place of the people who were referenced before. And when you say Desh and you mention it as an appendage attached to something, that makes the previous part reference a group of people. Now, Gal, if I say like Avtigal, it means tomorrow. Gaikal, it means yesterday because Gal is also a marker of time.
Hmm.
Like Kali is the goddess of time and destruction. But when an Indian person reads Kaladesh, they don't see it like that. They're like, you named it Land of Black People? Because Kala is the color black. And it's also like if you call someone Kallu in North India or Pakistan, you are calling them the N word, and they will punch you in the face. Or it's like deep. Like one thing that people don't realize that India and Pakistan and Bangladesh and the entire South Asia has a huge problem of colorism,
Hmm.
of like deep racism based on skin tone, and so like you when you make and or like for instance like when the Brits ruled India, they used to call us blackie, or like other slurs like that. And like Gandhi, one of the first things he argued was like Indians are not, you know, like it was a kind of weird racist thing way for him to make himself a white supremacist almost. He's like, we are not black people. we are a different group of people. But the point was that it was a dehumanizing term when the Brits did it, and it was not a great term when Magic did it, you know? And like, and I was like, for years, I was just sitting there, and every time I would talk to the Wizard people, I'd be like, yo, so why did you do this? And are we going to maybe not do that? And like, maybe no more 7-Eleven jokes in the goddamn set? How about that? And like, eventually, and the thing is, my my constant haranguing about this is what got them to start using cultural consultants. And especially, they started that with immediately afterwards with Kaya. She was like the first real, because the way I used to tell them, I'm like, look, I know you're never going to do another Indian set. I know you're never going to go back to pseudo India. You've done it. You've Magic is a one and done place. We've burnt that resource down. This is over. And but I expect that, and I know that I've lost, right? I was like, it's called Kaladesh. It's going to be called Kaladesh forever. Land of black people. 7-Eleven jokes. The whole thing. We can't do anything about it. But if by there's an old saying I like a lot, which is the pioneers get the arrows and the settlers get the land, which is to say that if I'm the first one running forward with my machete, cutting down the pathway, and I'm getting stabbed by thorns and eaten by bears and whatever, as long as the people coming behind me have a clear pathway for a better future, I'm okay. I'll take that hit. I will accept that my culture will never get the representation it deserves, as long as the people who come after me do. And we saw that with like a lot of these newer sets and stuff, like the new Kamigawa or Kaldheim or any of these other ethnic based sets that came out after Kaladesh. You saw like, or into New Ixalan. The new Ixalan set wouldn't exist if I didn't sit there and just like try to rustle this tree over and over again. And so what happened is, but I had given it up because I was like, we're never going to get this again. Like, fine, whatever. I've accepted it, because like one of the things that happened is people were like, if this was a problem, why didn't you say anything? Because I don't want white people getting up my ass about it. That's why, like, real talk. If I started like making a fuss about this all the time, what do you think it would? How do you think it would have gone? It would have gone real poorly, right? Like, and so I'm like, I'd rather go to the decision maker, state my case, and then just let it go and accept that this is just never going to happen. And then a couple of years ago, I get a message from Wizard saying, so we would really like you and some other members of the community to come out here, because I wasn't the only one making these arguments. There were a bunch of like South Asian people who were very, very strongly concerned about this, and a couple others were just like, "Hey, we're just happy to be here. Who cares?" But like, Wizards got me and a handful of other South Asian players of who people know to come out, and not come out, but like virtually sit down with the creative team, and they're like, "We're going to be going back to Kaladesh, and we want your thoughts on like the setting and on the world building that's going forward." And the first thing, and they thought that they would be able to show us pictures, and we'd say like, use that one, not that one, blah blah blah. We like this, yeah, yeah, yeah. Instead, they got a 45-minute long lecture from the three of us about colonialism, about racism, and about what it means that the one place representing us is named after one of the most horrendous racial slurs that you could call another Indian person. And they were not, they were nonplussed. They were not here. They did not see that one coming. And they were kind of coughing. I'm like, have you not talked to me for 10 years? You know what? But that's when I said, like, and like, the creative team was a little kind of like lost, right? And I was like, look, dudes, the second set you had was called Aether Revolt. What happens after revolutions? And they're like, revolutions? And I'm like, when you have a revolution in the real world, what happens? You change the flag, you change the name. And suddenly, like a light bulb clicked in the eyes of all the people on that Zoom call. And you could see all these people suddenly just like wake up and be like, and I'm like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, let's talk about that. You just had a revolution where you overthrew a government. Maybe they want to leave that name behind. And then they came back and they had like a whole list of names. And I came back and I consulted on like the world building and the art and everything. The set looks stunning. And when they came back and talked to me, they were like, here's a handful of names that we've kind of collected and chosen. And I was like, you want, and I came up with some names of my own that I threw out at them. And then they were like, okay, which one works? And I was like, use Avishkar. It means like innovation, miracle, a new beginning, a new like invention. If you Google it right now, it's really like got the invention as a first definition. And it passes the saffron olive test of can saffron olive, notorious mispronouncer, say this? And I was like, boom, here we go. We've got a new world, a new name,
Mm-hmm.
a reason for the name so that people don't get pissy about it. That's the one thing. I was really upset that Wizards put out that article saying we changed this after speaking with consultants. They didn't need to do that. If they had just listed an essay saying, in world, they had a revolution and we have now changed the name, nobody would have said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would have been like, oh, of course, you had a revolution. You changed the name, you changed the flag. Here's a new government. Great. Like, it's like you look at like countries in the real world. This happens all the time. Look at like Kosovo and like all these countries that broke up from Czech Republic and everything like that. Like these countries change their names all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Zaire is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, right? Like it happens. It's a known thing to happen. And I was just like, here's a perfect, and you don't need to say nothing. You can just, but they didn't. And they made their self-congratulatory backpacking article, and then I got introduced to people like, well, I'm just going to call it Kaladesh anyway. I'm like, I don't care. I still won, so you can call it whatever you want. I'm like, the set's going to call it Avishkar. You can say whatever you want, buddy. But I like the fact that they didn't retroactively change it. I'm glad that they didn't. They left history alone. They're like, Kaladesh is Kaladesh. It's not going to change the name. It's all going to exist. We're just going to use the in-world transition to say going forward, it's now Avishkar. I'm like, love it. Love it.
Perfect.
It's fantastic. And when I saw the announcement, like when I was in Vegas and they unveiled cards from Aether Drift, and I saw at the bottom of that Gear Hulk, they revealed that it's like, Avishkar is something flavor text. And I was just sitting there like, I just wanted to cheer and scream, but I'm like, we can't tell anybody. I sent a message to some of my friends who had been like on that initial call with me, and I was like, guys, we won. And it was just like we were crying, we were celebrating, we were just like, this is a momentous occasion. And I was so excited, and then it hit the public, and everybody was like super pissy, and I was like, I was upset. And then also I was like, but I won. I had fought this battle for like a decade,
Yep.
and I won. And that feels really, really good. Knowing that I was able to make a change in Magic that of this magnitude. Getting them to change a plane's name? Are you kidding? Can you imagine if someone said, don't call it Innistrad anymore? Like, hell no, right? Like, that's never going to goddamn happen. And so I'm just like this. I'm over the moon about this. This is the coolest thing ever. Are you kidding? It rules.
Absolutely.
It rules so much.
Yeah, that's absolutely something you should be very proud of that. I'm very happy for you that you were involved in that change.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Well, we need to get to some chat questions here. Chat, go ahead and start throwing your questions in there. We're gonna get started with looking at some of these here. Got a couple already in here. Some person named Dana Roach has a question for you. Wants to ask, what do you think the main advantage of WotC taking over EDH is, and what do you think the main disadvantage of WotC taking over EDH
I think
is?
the biggest advantage of Wizards taking over Commander is that if you get mad about a decision, you yell at Wizards and not at me. But like, I think this is a weird position to take because like I wasn't thrilled about it. I was really upset when I got the call. I was in Spain on vacation, and I was like, what the hell do you mean we're giving it to Wizards for this? We're giving it to Wizards for this? And I was pissed. But then in hindsight, like, this is an inevitability. This is the biggest money making function that Wizards has. This is the thing that's always like this is the cart that pulls a horse, right? Like real talk, Commander is the biggest format in Magic, and it is the biggest moneymaker in Magic.
Hmm.
And at some tier, eventually down the line, it was going to be too big for us to manage it, right? Like it was already getting there, but it was going to be too big for like the handful of us volunteers to manage this. Because when it's just a fan format and you're just doing this for funsies or even for 100,000, a million, 2 million people, sure. But when it's like 50 million people, 100 million people, that's a lot. And like we had to make these kinds of decisions in order to balance the format or it's going to be absurd. And I think I think that giving it to Wizards, I think more specifically the Wizard, giving it to Gavin meant that they were going to do this right. Because Gavin and Sarah Mox, who are the people who are running this thing, are people that I trust really, really strongly to care about the community and to also maintain the vibe of it being a community driven format because they don't want to put in the resources that it takes to. Like, I remember when I first talked to Aaron Forsyth, and I was like, why do you put out cards like, Ragavan or Hogak or whatever? And he's just like, I don't want to run Commander. Like I like having somebody else running Commander so that we can focus on making cards
Hmm.
and you guys can focus on managing the cards and banning the cards if you need to. We don't care. We don't want to be any part of it. And for long, people are like, "Oh, Wizards is controlling what you say." No, Wizards is not. They absolutely didn't have any say in what we were doing. And if they were upset, sometimes they would say so. Sometimes they wouldn't. But generally speaking, they understood what we were doing and why, and they were cool with it. But having a hate mob come at Wizards is different than having a hate mob come at Jim and Olivia and me, right?
Hmm.
Like I I'm used to it because I've been on the internet as a brown guy for a very long time now, and I've been in the public eye and I've been in the games business for a very long time now. I can deal with it, but people shouldn't have to deal with it.
Right.
And Wizards has folks like Blake Rasmussen, who's a nice, beautiful white face that's just there to be able to. People can get pissed at him all day long, and he's okay with washing off. And having that kind of level of protection is incredibly important to maintaining the health of the maintainers of the format.
Hmm.
Now, as for what they're actually going to do with the format, that's on Wizards to decide. When they came, like I was planning on resigning from the CAG this year, anyways. I had done it for 5 years. I've said everything I want to say. I was very tired of just being the guy who gets lit on fire all day, and so I was like, all right, I think I've said everything I want to do. I'm going to step away from this, and then I got stepped away. But they came and they asked me multiple times. They're like, "Dude, we really want you as part of this." And I'm like, "I need this. I need this break. I need to refresh and remember what I enjoy about this." So I let what I'm interested in seeing what Wizard does. I don't know what they're doing. I don't haven't talked to anybody in the old group to find out, and I honestly don't want to know. Like I ran that format for 5 years, man. Like it was a lot, and it was a lot.
Most definitely. Um, so, has have you ever gotten close to the point where, like, all of the drama, all the people taking shots at you and everything, has it ever gotten to the point where you feel like you were close to like quitting with
Oh,
being a
regularly.
content creator?
Oh, regularly. I mean, like there was what was the worst one? The thing is, like anytime they would make a decision or not make a decision, I would get attacked, and it was always just like annoying. And this time around, like there's so many times where I'm just like, this is not worth it. This is not worth it. And like even like with this the name changing stuff, I was just like, I don't want this. I don't want to do this. You people are not worth my time. But the problem is, I love magic, and I love talking to people, and that would be really hard for me to give up. I don't know, but just like it's like Jason All can tell you, I've talked to him about these things before. There's just times where I'm like, this is like early on when I had him on my show, he was like, you've gotten so hamstrung by the CAG that you can't even talk about cards unless you post them randomly, like on the website. Because people are just like, oh, you're trying to manipulate the market. I'm like, I
Yeah.
am literally not. But God, it's so stupid. But just because people don't realize that this was voluntary and I was getting nothing out of this.
Mhm.
So, like, I don't know. I think I enjoy making content too much to not do it, but sometimes it gets a little annoying.
Do you think you'll ever get tired of it? Like, do you think you'll ever run out of things to say about
Oh God,
Magic
man.
the Gathering?
I'm planning on starting like two more podcasts, let alone just stopping. I want to start a podcast about books. I was thinking about starting a podcast about like the Sanderson's verse. I mean, I've got so many things I want to talk about. No, if I can make this into a career, I hell am. I hella will.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite game to talk about that isn't Magic?
My favorite game to talk about, Civilization.
Civilization. So are you getting pretty perked up for Civ 7 next
Oh my
month,
God,
or
hell yes, I am.
what do you think of all
I mean,
the
it looks weird.
previews?
It's weird, but also like I freaking love Civilization, and I'm going to be there day one. I'm gonna try to stream it. Honestly, I might actually try to stream it. But like,
I'm sure people would watch that absolutely if you
yeah,
streamed
Civ Seven
Civ
is gonna
7.
be so cool. And I was thinking about doing a Civ podcast, but I would figured I would run out of ideas after like the 20th episode or something. Nobody wants to hear about my thoughts on like culture yields or whatever,
Right.
and like board games. I love board games. I should do a board gaming podcast. I played a lot of board games.
Well, then you could definitely work on getting Richard Garfield on because he does more of that now than
You know what,
anything.
dude? He has found his way. He's like, I make a gogillion dollars off of Magic, and now I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. He's still making tons of money. Like
Mm.
Kings of
Oh yeah,
Tokyo. Have you played King of Tokyo?
yeah. Game rules.
That game is fucking great. This is one of
It's
my
so
favorite
good,
games, and it's Richard Garfield, same guy who
dude.
made Magic, made
Turns
this
out that
game.
dude's got some chops. He knows what
He
he's doing.
knows what he's doing, and that's obviously not the only other game he's made.
Mm.
And he doesn't need to make anything more. He's got the money. He can just go live on an island somewhere. But he wants
My
to.
favorite board games right now, by the way, are called Splendor, which is a
Yep.
gem catching game or something like that, and Morels, which is about it's a two-player game about getting mushrooms and like
Okay.
collecting sets of mushrooms and stuff. And they're both hella fun to play. But I got like 17 new games from Gen Con, so I'm still working my way through it.
Yeah, I've played a lot of Splendor. I've
Such
not
a
played
good, clean
Morels
game.
though.
Yeah,
Game I've
it
been
was out
playing
of print for a while,
mostly.
but it just came back.
I've been mostly playing a lot of Clank, which is another deck building
That
game.
game looks really cool.
It's fantastic. My family got the Legacy version of it,
Nice.
and we've been playing that. And that's if you like deck builder games like Dominion, it takes that and just like 1,000 times that.
Oh,
It's
Dana also
great.
asked, what do I think the downside of WotC running EDH is? I think the downside of WotC running EDH is that WotC is running EDH. Like,
Enough said. Yeah.
I think that a community-driven format should be run by the community.
Hmm.
But like, I mean, whatever. If we ran it or if they ran it, they're still going to just be putting on. They're still going to be making more Nadus, man. Like they need to sell cards.
Hmm.
It's not going to change anything about the way the format's actually run. If anything, I think that WotC running it might mean more bans and stuff than before,
Really?
because the old RC was very slow moving, and it was great when it was very small, and not great when it's way, way, way bigger than we can handle. But I don't know. I think we could have done the transition better than we did. I think the transition was handled very poorly,
Hmm.
with a lot of hard feelings, and I'm sad about how it went down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. Everybody is very unhappy with how it went down. I think
Well,
it's very sad.
it's a, it sucked, man, because like Jim and Olivia are some of the most intelligent and clever people I've ever met,
Hmm.
and they knew so much about, and they had so much they cared about Commander, and I'm really bummed that the community didn't give them, I, whatever. Anyways, that's I don't want to go down that path.
Okay. Yeah, we are running out of time already. We've got
We haven't
a
even started.
few.
There's like
We've
still
barely
like
even
questions
started.
I haven't asked.
Let's go to Crab Baskets, who said, "What are your top three favorite sets to do Commander Sealed with?"
Well, I can tell you the number one set to not do it with, and that's Ikoria. Ikoria is absolutely busted to the point of being unfun for boxing league stuff. I think also any of the Masters sets are bad ideas to do this with. But
Who
otherwise,
has money for that, anyways?
yeah, well, yeah, basically. Um, I think that Kaldheim was really fun. I think Throne of Eldraine was really, really fun. I think Theros Beyond was really, really great for doing boxing league stuff. Any set that's got really good, fun, um, like if it's got a really fun sealed environment, then it's gonna have a fantastic boxing league.
Excellent. Have you tried doing any Commander Sealed with foundations at all?
Not yet. I never got a box of foundations. It was Christmas is expensive, but I would
Yeah.
totally do it because I want to play with Rufus.
Right.
The legends and foundations look super fun.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Let's see. Knickknacks96 says, "What is Shivam's least favorite soldier?"
Any of the stupid blue soldiers that came out in the Urza set in Brothers War, because my soldiers deck is red white. So every time they had that goddamn like tap 5 soldiers and draw a card, I'm just like, it makes me super pissed off, man.
You seem
The fact
very
that they made the
upset.
soldiers
This
land
is the
blue
thing
white
that
made me so mad.
this is the thing that tilts Shivam. None of this other drama. It's about soldiers being blue. What the
Oh
fuck?
my god,
Come on.
I was like yelling at Gavin so much. I'm like, why would you do this? And he's like, buddy, you got to expand. I'm like, shut up. They hated Jesus for what he said.
Let's see. All right, Chad, give me more questions. Tag EDH
Sorry, that
Test on there
calendar
so I
story
can
took like
see
the
them
whole time,
better.
didn't it?
Let's see. So, where is the line for you, Shivam, with Magic? What could WotC do that would make you just throw up your hands and say, "I'm done with Magic"?
I would have said, honestly, I think that I am too much of a fanboy to ever get to that point.
There's nothing
And
they could do. They could just
I mean, look, dude, I
slap you
thought it
about the
was going to be.
face all day and you'll
Here's
just
the
take
thing.
it and say thank you.
Oh, you asked when I wanted to quit Magic, and it's related to this question. It's because
Yeah.
of the stupid Walking Dead. I wanted to quit content creation and everything during the Walking Dead thing because everybody was so head up their ass stupid about that. But I would have quit Magic. I mean, I would have just been like Walking Dead. This is the dumbest thing ever. I hate all this. But then they put out the Street Fighter one, and I was like, oh no, I get it, and this rules.
Hmm.
And so suddenly it's like, oh, well, uh, I guess. I mean, like, what I've realized is a thing that has taken me a long time to realize as a content creator, but not even like that, as a person who just buys a crap ton of Magic, is that I can just not buy the sets that don't talk to me.
Hmm.
Like Duskmorn, I hated everything about that set. Like,
Oh,
except I don't like horror, I don't like body horror, I don't like any
I
part of it.
love all that
And so
stuff.
I didn't. I played the pre-release. I bought like the 2 singles I needed, and I skipped that whole damn set. And I was like, if they're gonna put out like UB for I don't know Fallout or Assassin's Creed or whatever, I didn't. I got the Fallout decks eventually because they're really cool themes, but like Assassin's Creed, whatever. If they do like I don't know, if they do something like Wicked, okay, maybe I'll be like, this is dumb.
Well,
Or
eventually they'll get there. They're gonna run out of IPs at
I
some
mean, I don't
point,
know.
right?
It's like the problem is Magic's a really fun game, and all my friends are really cool people, so I like doing this.
I'm gonna answer this question for myself here. The line for me that I would that would make me throw up my hands and quit Magic is if they started using AI art on cards.
That would be it. I think that would be it. If they change the design and the function to be more AI driven, then I would definitely just quit because that at that point is no longer a game. That is a that is an abuse of culture.
Hmm.
And I think if Wizards ever changes the price to be way way high, or if they Well, they're doing a SpongeBob. They're doing the SpongeBob UB coming out next year. It's going to be pretty cool. Um, and I don't
Walt
even
is
like
39
SpongeBob.
learning something here.
Yeah, I don't even like SpongeBob, but it looks really cool. But the thing is, like, I think if they move to AI driven content, then I would 100% stop playing.
All right. Well, then we found your line. Good.
Yeah, because like I like the people who make magic, and I want them to keep making magic, and I like the artists who make magic, and I think AI art is idiotic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's see. JJ Mickey asks you, what is your favorite flavor text?
the flavor text for Providence from Eldritch Moon or something. Let me grab it.
Man, if somebody asked me that question, I'd be like, I have no idea. I don't have a favorite.
Like I love that I just had that like off the top of my
I
head.
love it about
Uh,
you.
which is the flavor text is there's a power in prayer regardless of who's listening, which is one of those things that I as a priest find really striking and relevant to me, and just even like even if you are not a believer, the ritual act of prayer is a mechanism that centers you and calms you down and gives you a kind of level ground to restart your thought process with.
Mhm.
And like I find that just really moving. Also, there was also my second favorite one was from Gideon, the Gideon spell book. You remember those? Let's see,
Yeah.
spell book Chandra,
Whatever happened to the
where they were
commander
like, here's the
collections?
funeral
They
guide
stopped
for
making those
kids.
too.
Mm, hang on, let me grab it because this was from like a billion years ago. There we go. Signature spellbook Gideon from the card worship, which was like even after all that befell Amalek, Gideon never believed his trust in Oketro was misplaced, which I loved because it's like, look, this guy's been through hell and back. He finds his god, and his god is killed in front of him, and even with that, he still maintains his faith. And I was like, I love that about him and his character.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Let's see. Dogboy Mark asks, Mr. Shivam, if you were to build a theme deck based around old border cards, pre 8th edition, what commander or colors would you pick?
Ooh, it would definitely be one of the five Elder Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I would probably want to take like Palladium Moors and make a Dragons deck, or build like a chrome like I would build like a Chromium hyper defensive control deck, not Chromium, Arcadis Bullet, Arcadis Sabbath hyper control deck with like walls and Mahmoudi Jins and Sarah Angels and lots of blue, white, green draw go type of things. I think that would be super fun.
Awesome. Let's see. Naj asks a question. I'm not sure I'm understanding it, but maybe you do. What's your favorite fourth wall theme you've seen for a deck? Something unrelated to the text mechanic of the
Oh, I've seen a lot
cards.
of really cool. Basically, I think by fourth wall he means like this deck is themed around like Elder Scrolls or like like this is a. I think one of my favorite ones was a deck that was built around the idea of a dungeon crawl, and so like everything in it was uh, a dungeon master, and you three are playing through and trying to get through the traps and get through like the actual deck itself. Um, I don't know. I've seen a lot of really fun decks that have been like themed around RPGs or around like different novels and stuff where these cards represent these characters and stuff. I think that's so much fun. It's so clever.
Very cool. Let's see. Shivam, how many commander decks do you currently have put together in paper, and which one is your favorite?
I was looking over there to see my quiver. I try to keep no more than like two quivers worth of decks. So I've got about, I think right now, but I've kind of overtopped that. I've got about like five, seven, 10, 12, maybe 12 decks built, 12 to 15 decks tops.
Mm-hmm.
And um, the second part of the question, what's my favorite one?
Yeah, which one's your favorite?
I think
Pick your
right
favorite
now,
child.
my all-time favorite is Grimgrin. Right now, my favorite to play is Nira because it's super fun Spellslinger Chaos. Or my Mew Kadira deck, which just makes a shit ton of rabbits. It's super fun.
Okay. We got another one in chat here. Good Milk is Good says, for Commander going forward, do you think the LGS experience, not knowing the other players or their decks, will improve, decline, or stay the same?
One thing that we did and that I helped spearhead that I was really, really proud of was innovating, like was taking Rule Zero from D&D and applying it to Magic and to Commander specifically. And I think just by giving people the tools to communicate, we have noticeably seen that the LGS experience and the playing with randos experience has gotten better. And I think the more people communicate, the more that we build on this notion of, hey, what do you want to play?
Mm-hmm.
And sitting down with the intention of having entertainment for everybody, I think is only going to make the game better for all of us. Because the big thing is like we need commander players, and this is the thing that I think I'm on a hill on, is that like you need to be responsible for the entertainment of everybody at the table. This is a multiplayer game. We're all here having fun. The reason why Commander is the easiest way to learn Magic is not because of the decks. The decks are monstrously difficult. It's because of the fact that when you're playing a multiplayer game, the onus of learning the game becomes much easier because people are willing to help you because you're fighting against everybody and not just the one person that's trying to teach you, because they're trying to kick your ass and teach you the game at the same time. But when you're playing in a multiplayer game, there's this notion of it's all of us against the enemy, this nebulous, the hill, like in Ninja Warrior, the TV show. We're all competing against that mountain to get to the top. And so Commander is better when we talk, when we share our ideas, when we say like, hey, you know, I don't feel like playing against that. Because one of the things WL likes to say a lot is bad Commander is worse than not playing Commander. I would rather not play a game than have a bad game. And I think encouraging people to talk to each other, to communicate, and to make the vibe check before we get going. And it doesn't have to be like, here's my essay, here's my thesis on my deck, and I expect to win on turn 14 and a half. No, nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody cares about all that stuff. Don't get fastidious. Don't get lost in the details. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is, this is my competitive deck. Oh, cool. Okay, then I'm going to bring my competitive deck. Or, hey, you know, I just built this deck. I don't know how it's going to be, but it feels like it's going to be kind of strong. Okay, well, then I'll bring one of my medium decks and we'll give it a shot. And it'll be no hard feelings because we understand. And the LGS experience, the show floor experience has gotten so much better because people are willing to just accept that, hey, it doesn't have to be a shitty time. We can enjoy this. Mm-hmm. And we're here to have fun. Like, this is why and I'm going to rant for 10 seconds here. This is why I get super upset about Tournament Commander. And not CDH, I mean Tournament EDH. Because when you put prizes on the line, you're taking away the incentive to talk to people. You're taking away the incentive to ensure that everybody's having fun. You're taking away the incentive to want to teach people. You just want to win. If you want to win, there's 600 fucking formats you can play that you can win. If you're playing Commander, then maybe let's sit there and think about what we're doing here. You know, and we're here to chill and relax and be able to just talk and enjoy and bring out our fun decks and show off the cool things we have. Mm-hmm. And it makes me so upset when they're like, oh yeah, we're here to play the 10K. So if you talk, or like when I went to I saw a tournament once, a tournament Commander game where everybody was sitting stoic and silent and staring at each other. And I was like, this is the most miserable fucking thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. Uh-huh. It is the stupidest thing. It's the biggest waste of our format. And I was just unbelievably upset about it. I was so mad because I'm like, what are you friggin' doing? Like, this is not a GP. This is not the Pro Tour. Smile, for fuck's sake. Oh, God damn it. It makes that's what makes me mad.
Well, we don't want to end on a mad note here. Let's try and find another quick question here. Nick Nax says, have you ever built a commander deck with a heavy restriction? For some example, something like Jim's all 1-drops or Kibler's only cards from the Pro Tours deck.
Ooh, all of my decks are built with one restriction, with like heavy restrictions, because like that's where I find the most fun. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, the Kadira deck I talk about. My Kadira deck's whole premise is that she runs up there, is fully decked out in equipment and everything, and has a whole host of bunnies and little creatures behind her, and none of them will ever attack because she's not going to let her bunny friends attack. They're there to support her and to cheer for her and to do a big old Genki Dama. So they all have exalted because of different cards I have, and she gets decked out super strong, super hard. But then one of her little rabbit friends will put on this mask and go out there and boodle 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 and scare all the big meanies and get them to block it so that she can run in and punch you. And or like my soldiers deck, every creature in there has to be a soldier or like something that you would find in an army or in like, and that's only like there's one medic. So like I allow a couple of angels because they're all the generals, but like no knights, no friggin' no like clerics, no mentors or diplomats. No, no. Every time they make a white card that's like, oh, tap this and draw 38 cards, and I look and it says it's like creatures scribe, and I'm like, well, that's not going to my soldiers deck. I am like a stickler for theme. I love hyper theming things. Um, like my Minskin Boo deck is all dice rolly cards, and that's why I have a special blue Boo token that's got him holding a dice in hand because he gets thrown with dice. Yeah, no, that stuff matters to me.
Awesome. Well, Shivam, that is all we have time for. I want to thank you so much for being here on our first episode of What's Up.
It
And
was my pleasure.
it's been a pleasure having you. I hope you didn't hate it. I'm glad I didn't make you cry. I'm
I'm
glad I
sorry, I
didn't
didn't mean to
cry.
turn it into story time for like an hour or whatever.
That's all right. It's less work for me, man. That's cool. Um, Before we go, I want you to tell everybody where they can find you online and where they will find you at conventions this year.
Well, you'll probably see me at every MagicCon because
Because you're cool
Wizards
like
brings
that?
me out periodically, or I creator it and I show up. So I'll be in Chicago for sure, and I think actually only at MagicCons is where I'm going to be. I don't go to like SCGs or whatever unless somebody invites me. Um, and online, you can find me at Gearpuri Gears on Twitter or at shivamput.bluesky over there. Um, and my podcast, Casual Magics, come out every Tuesday. Um, Shivam Wheeler comes out every other Monday. Chronicles of Dragonlance comes out the first of the month. I show up on everybody's everything all the time. I mean,
I'm glad
I'm
you had
very
time
easy to
for
find
us,
if you
man.
want to
You're
find me.
busy. It's so nice of you to show up here with your busy schedule. I appreciate you, man. All right, friends. We're going to send the love on over to my friend Kuro Hitsuki, who I love. Before I go, if you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at Andy Zupke. I'm on Blue Sky at Zupkeep. And I will be at MagicCon Chicago. So come say hi. And thank you all for joining us this evening. It's been a wonderful time. Make sure to stick around. Go see Kuro. We love you all.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.